Welcome to the latest episode of the Credit Union Business News Podcast, the only all business, all digital resource for credit unions. This episode is sponsored by Bader Training and Consulting. We create environments where employees actually want to come to work and members want to keep coming back. I am Ken Bader, your host for the Credit Union Business News Podcast. And earlier, I had the distinct privilege of sitting down with Jim McCabe, the Executive Vice President of ID Theft Solutions for Vero. It's a gentleman I've known for a long time that has provided not only a very valuable service to credit union members through credit unions, but also an income generating opportunity. Before we roll into the interview, I just simply want to say that I've seen and worked with Jim for a long time, and especially Vero, and I've always been impressed, especially as a sponsor of the POCUA, how they've interacted with our particular credit unions. And I know that one of the sticking points has always been, what does offering ID theft solutions in the way that Jim explains it in our interview do to our brand? Well, I will tell you that one, it does help your brand, and two, that it does help your credit union increase non-interest income, which is something that we really need. So if going with Vero or any other service, frankly, that is related to Vero, that is a bundling type of a product or service, which frankly millennials and Gen Z want, come talk to me. I will tell you how that fits into your brand and how you can brand that particular service in the proper way for your credit union so that it's good for your members and good for the growth of your credit union. So feel free to contact me if you feel that the Vero service is going to affect your brand, because I will tell you exactly how it will work for the image of your particular institution. So feel free to reach out to me at kbator, BATOR, at btcinc.net. Now, let's listen to Jim. I am here with Jim McCabe, the Executive Vice President of Vero, Executive Vice President actually of Identity Theft Solutions, which darn it, we really need right now. Jim, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Ken.
Glad to have you. Here we are. It's in May of 2021, and knock on wood, we're getting out of this crazy pandemic that we got going on. And I know personally, because I've seen it through a number of credit unions and other businesses, that there's been a lot of fraud going on. Could you speak to, what's been happening out there, given your expertise?
Yeah, it started almost immediately when the whole COVID thing was announced back in March. And matter of fact, what came out of statistics in May was that there was a spike, a 600% spike in the amount of phishing emails in the first month of it, just in the month of March alone, 600% increase. So the criminals immediately understood what they had was a perfect storm. They had the wealth in the country in the hands of the elders, and who were the most at risk from COVID, the elders. And they preyed upon them, and amazing, it was actually the most egregious act you can do to an elder at that state in their life, where they're at risk for not only the disease, but then they actually went after them in terms of their financial status. And that was, in my opinion, the double whammy that really set a lot of people off. The crimes have been across the board. But what's interesting is that the criminals we found, and you'll see in terms of the statistics that come out, the criminals have actually they're getting around this credit monitoring, because most people have credit monitoring now.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? Now they're getting your phone number is now more important in many ways than your social security number, because we use that now for verification, for authentication. So what they need is your email address, your phone number, your physical address, and now they can actually have at you in ways that is actually, I think, more insidious than the social security number. And they do it to do all kinds of crimes. The one that's obviously took off and skyrocketed immediately was medical fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got, on the heels of that, IRS tax fraud, phone utilities fraud. And the one that's really skyrocketed this year, it went up over 2,000% in 2020, and that is unemployment benefits fraud. People are now getting notices when they go to do their taxes that they owe a whole bunch of money because people stole their information, filled out these false forms that said, I need to get unemployment insurance and benefits, and now all of a sudden they owe all this money, and they don't know how to get out of it. And so that's when their nightmare begins. That's when most people find, now what am I going to do? Yeah. And that's when a lot of the companies out there today that promote, monitoring. Those are the people that, unfortunately, when something finally happens to them, they're not there for them. They're not there to help them get themselves out of the nightmare.
Yeah, unfortunately, my wife and I ran into that. My mother-in-law got a call, and I want to say it's only about 2 or 3 months ago. She's a widow, and got a call from, I believe, somebody posing to be Medicare. And she did give that person some information. Fortunately, it wasn't a ton, but gave them some. And so we had to have that conversation of, if anybody calls you, even if it's somebody that you're working with, Medicare, your local credit union. She's a proud member of Golden One Credit Union, by the way. But even Golden One Credit Union, if somebody calls you and says, I'm from Golden One Credit Union, all you need to say is that, you know what, I'm busy right now, I will call you right back. Do you have a case number or something in specific?
There you go.
And I guarantee you that no credit union is going to be upset with that. I actually had one of my police credit unions in the POCUA call Bader Training and Consulting for information, and I basically said, I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
I know your credit union. I'm going to call you back. And I ended up calling back, getting that exact person, and I said, "Look, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be an ass."
Yeah, right.
And that person completely got it.
Yeah.
Completely got it. Says, "No, you did exactly the right thing.
Right.
We wish more of our members should be doing that." And totally understood it. Which brings me to the question: what are credit unions doing right now to help their members to try and either recover from some of this fraud? Or even stop this fraud from even happening.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, actually, in terms of just awareness and education.
Yeah.
And of course, the FBI says that's the greatest deterrent to individual fraud, identity theft, and data breaches that are happening out there today. So what we're finding, in my line of business, I work predominantly with credit unions, although now we're working with some other industries. But with the credit unions, we had some very bold and aggressive credit unions who decided not to just sit back and retreat when COVID happened, but to step forward and to say, what do we need to do more for our members right now in this disastrous situation? And many of them, took some advice from us in terms of understanding that they can't stop their members from getting COVID. But they can stop them from feeling the fallout of the COVID pandemic. And this year, what they're calling what's happening in the world today is a cyberdemic. A cyberdemic that is actually wreaking havoc, again, mostly with the elders, unfortunately, out there, but everybody's being touched by it. So awareness and education, Ken, is like the greatest thing. And we've been very fortunate to get a number of credit unions this past year who stepped forward and decided to implement our solution, which is a solution that really protects the members in a way that they could not afford otherwise. It literally brings them a value proposition that's 10 times less than it would cost them anywhere else. And the beauty of the whole program that the credit unions love is the fact that it's bringing them into a greater engagement with their member than they ever had before.
Yeah.
And so the members are appreciative. They understand what it's doing for them now. And part of our rollout program of this solution for the credit unions, inherent in it is a member awareness campaign. That's how it starts off. For the first 6 weeks of the whole program, before it's rolled out to the members, there's an education and awareness that takes place to let them know why the credit union is stepping up and doing something about what their members are facing. And we have found that it just had a tremendous impact on those credit unions that stepped up.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I've had the pleasure of working with Jim and Vero for a number of years through my association, the POCUA. I've even used their service personally. Fortunately, I've never had a need to really use it where somebody had stolen my identity. But can you tell a story or two, maybe recently, a feel-good story of a credit union that was able to really take care of their member in a bad situation because of Vero's service?
Yeah, there's just all kinds of them out there. We just had one recently where a member had their daughter, again, still living at home, 21 years old, still living at home, just trying to get going, and they're just kind of getting out of college and getting into the whole job scene, and went out to apply online for a bunch of jobs and kept getting rejected because of their social security number. They kept saying, invalid social security number, invalid. Well, they checked with the Social Security Administration and said, oh no, it's good. That's your social security number. No, you've had it for years. No, you're fine. Everything's great. And yet they can't get by that roadblock. And so, again, our services allowed a certified recovery advocate to get involved. And I can't disclose all that they did, but in the end of the day, they were able to resolve the fact that somebody had been using her social security number improperly for another job, another types of, basically nothing illegal, but just using it.
Right.
Well, it's illegal to use somebody's
Sure.
social security
Well, yeah,
number.
that's illegal in and of itself.
They weren't committing a
so
crime.
Here, newsflash: Jim McCabe advocates that you can use somebody else's social security number. Just can't steal.
What I'm saying is they weren't doing it to actually commit a crime,
Right.
other than using social security number.
Right.
They were using it to get a job because once again, a lot of, as we know, in the last year and a half, we've had a lot of illegal aliens entering the country. That's no political statement, just fact.
Just is, right.
Just is. And these people come into our country, and in order for them to get work, they got to have a social security number. So that's why, again, you got to guard your social security number, yes. But as I said before, the thing that concerns me is people utilizing people's phone numbers and phishing people for more information that they use against them for things that are even on a grander scale than what that young lady faced. But and that's just one small example. But there's so many others that we can talk about. But at the end of the day, you need somebody that you can call upon when you don't know where to go and you don't know where to turn, because you don't actually have that background. And our advocates who help these members, they have on average between 15 and 20 years average experience in credit and transaction law. They're on a first name basis with the 3 Bureau credit organizations. They can literally speak on behalf of the member better than the member can. And why is that important? Well, it's important because unfortunately identity theft is the only crime in our country where you're guilty until proven innocent. And that's when the nightmare begins for the member. When they pick up the phone and they think if they scream a little louder, I'm not the one perpetrating this crime.
Oh, well, yeah. Since you're saying that so vehemently, you obviously are right. So we're going to wipe this up.
Right. When they get all frustrated with the fact that they aren't believing them and they don't know where to go from there, that's when they usually will hire a lawyer. Or they don't know where to turn, but that's where they typically turn. And in this scenario with our solution, they don't have to do that. For not an extra penny, they can simply call our advocates through their association with their credit union and have somebody literally take on the responsibility of fixing it for them. So it literally is what I always call it the ultimate safety net. It's the get out of jail free card if you want to. And at the end of the day, it's what everybody needs in this world we're living in today.
Yeah.
Now a word from our sponsor, Bader Training and Consulting. BTC is the creator of the B plus C plus S formula. Our clients that implement that formula increase their net income by 124% and grow their business by 17% on average. The best place to start working with Bader Training and Consulting is with our B plus C plus S audit. The service pinpoints issues as well as attributes of your business's unique brand, culture, and strategy. Learn more or sign up for a B plus C plus S audit at www.btc inc.net/BCS-audit.
Yeah. Well, one of the secondary benefits, and I stress the words secondary benefit because the main benefit obviously is take care of your members, this whole people helping people thing.
Right.
Did you
Yes.
hear that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
so that's,
big thing today.
number one reason to do it. But yeah, I know personally through my clients, as well as a few of our credit unions in the POCUA, they make another income stream from using this service. Can you explain that?
Yeah. And the way in which this is deployed to the member, a lot of credit unions have a misconception that it's some kind of a forcing onto the member all these services that they don't want and don't need and this kind of thing. And that's really not the case at all. We just talked about why they need it. Everybody needs this. But this is the most credit union-centric approach because what credit unions do better, quite honestly, than most other financial institutions is they leverage the member base. They leverage the member base to go to other providers and to get rates for things that they couldn't get anywhere else. And that's how credit unions have made their stake in this industry, is that they come with lower rates, better services, more engagement for the member than they could get anywhere else. And that's what this does to the T in terms of what they want. That being said, again, the thing that other people come to credit unions for is, obviously, I just said, to get better deals. I can't think of a better deal than somebody basically paying what would be a nominal account level fee of $3 or $4 or $5 a month for something that would legitimately cost them online $50, $60, $70 a month. And I'm not kidding, those are the exact numbers we're talking about. So we're talking about a 10 to 1 or better ratio savings to the member. It's a win-win situation. And at the same time, the credit union is receiving those services from us at rates that are far below that $3, $4, or $5 nominal fee, thus creating a non-interest income opportunity for them. And we just rolled out a credit union in Florida. They rolled it out basically to 39,000. Never had a fee before. Never had a fee in the history of the credit union before. Rolled it out to 39,000 checking accounts. And with our, again, education and awareness to the members and a lot of internal education and awareness of the employees, they rolled this program out with tremendous success. They're going to be generating in excess of about $1.5 million to $2 million a year in non-interest income. And again, what they're bringing the members, they know in their market space, no other credit union has this anywhere in the area.
Right.
So they're basically making a marketing coup by bringing this out. And the members do not even bat an eye at the $5, I think it's a $5 or $6 fee on two different kinds of accounts. And they don't, because in today's world, people know that, free isn't free.
Yeah.
Okay? It's, basically the bottom line on the whole free thing is that it's nothing more than, mirrors, smoke and mirrors, because people know that in the end of the day, you're paying something for that.
Right.
It's the onesie twosie fees that all pile up, and people know that in terms of the free checking. So at the end of the day, give them something of value. People appreciate value today more than anything else, and they'll pay for value over and over again all day long if they know. And the people who want that more than anything else are the millennials. The millennials are looking for this kind of thing. They use their phones and their electrical devices all the time, and they know that they're at risk. And so they're the ones that are saying, you know what, I know I need identity theft protection, and I want protection for my kids, and I'm willing to pay for it if it's right. So again, what we've been able to do very effectively is bring a solution to the credit unions that is generating such a value proposition. It literally becomes a no-brainer for the member to participate. We get 80 to 90% participation. In the last 5 to 6 rollouts, it's been exceeding 90% participation. It's incredible. People just, and I think the reason for that is awareness and education, but also people sensing the real value, and in today's time, knowing they need it more than ever.
Yeah, even my dad, I remember being 12 years old watching an Empire Carpet commercial and saying, hey, you can get a free Bissell shampooer, and him saying something to the effect of, that ain't free. I think there was an expletive in there too to just kind of drive it home. That something to the point of I'll probably pay $10 extra per square foot just to get that missile shampoo or whatever the hell it was.
Well, another way of putting it is I actually termed it calling fake free.
Yeah.
What I mean? So bottom line is people call it, oh, it's free. We go, oh no, we really want our members to have free checking. Well, people know today that things aren't free.
Yeah.
That it's impossible, and they don't expect credit unions not to obviously generate revenue to keep obviously the amount of services that they do. They want to see services grow, so they know they need more revenue to do that stuff. They don't expect anybody to do something for absolute total free, although there's some that are. But the bottom line is that the majority of people today understand value is what they want.
Right.
And free is like we just said, not really free.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with value.
Yeah.
And I'll put my consultant hat on for a minute, and not just being the host of this podcast, is I talk to credit unions all the time about generating income and non-interest income. And it's not just Vero, it's other programs that involve charging a fee or asking for some type of exchange of here's something of value and here's something that's coming back to me of value for that value. And a lot of conversations go, well, we don't charge fees here. Our board of directors are against fees. And what I'll normally ask is, well, do you have an overdraft fee? And 9 times out of 10, I get, well, of course we do. Well, that's a fee. And it's like, why are you charging a fee for negative behavior that you're obviously getting income from, but not going to charge a fee for something that is an actual value? Yeah. And then the question usually goes to, well, we have to teach these people about, well, wouldn't you want to teach them and keep them safe about identity theft? So I struggle with that.
Yeah.
Whether it's Vero or any other product.
I had a credit union, Ken. Actually, this was a couple of years ago. I remember there was legislation that was going through, and I don't even know if it went through. That was going to put a significant dent in the amount of overdraft that they could charge members, and they were either going to, I forget how much they were going to take away of it or whatever, what percentage of that. I had the CEO of a credit union say to me, if that legislation goes through, I need your solution. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to lose so much revenue from that checking account program that I have to find another way to do it because I can't afford it if I have to take that away. So again, free isn't free. It sounds like it is, but those overdrafts are so expensive that every time there is one, and they worked it into their calculations. They know the percentage of people that do overdraft, right, and they know that that's what covers the cost of managing those accounts. Well, if that gets cut out, where are they going to go? They have to have something to do. So again, that's just another example of the fact that it isn't free. It's being funded in other means that makes it looks like it is. So all that being said, this program is about, like you said, it's down to value. Value proposition is what the member's looking for. And they'll shop around until they find it. Mm-hmm. And something else that we add into our program that just shows even greater value that we've added in the last year or so is mobile phone protection. Mm-hmm. And talk about putting it over the top. It's a mobile phone protection program that covers accidental damage, mechanical breakdown, and theft.
We take a quick break from our podcast to tell you about the Credit Union Business News online collaboration group. In 2020, I earned the privilege to be the producer and host of the Credit Union Business News podcast. It's been a blast to create and speak with a number of thought leaders both within and outside of the industry. It's that type of intelligent conversation that many of us missed with most, if not all, in-person conferences and events shut down possibly well into 2021 due to COVID-19. Sure, there are a number of quality online options to learn, but what about those conversations with your peers during the conference coffee breaks, during lunch, and at the end of the day over dinner? Some experts say that is the most valuable aspect of attending any in-person event, much more so than the sessions themselves. That's why we created the Credit Union Business News online collaboration group. The program is based upon the concept of open space technology, a technique I've used successfully within the POCOA and other forums for years. It is, in essence, a formalized coffee break conversation. Would you like to learn more about being a part of it? Then why don't you join the executives that have already been collaborating together for months throughout the United States? To be eligible to be a guest or join what we call our Cub Collaborators group, you must be an executive of a credit union at the VP level at minimum. Contact me, Ken Bader, for more information or to be a guest during a future Cub Collaborators meeting. I can best be reached at kbator, BATOR, at btcinc.net or 714-681-2821. We're looking forward to having you join the conversation. One of the things that you mentioned, not only about the mobile phone protection, the identity theft protection, is that in a checking account is that it's a bundle.
Yeah.
And I've seen many studies. We've got credit unions that even are going past even going after the millennials. They're like, whether we got them or not, we're going after Gen Z. Yeah. And I've seen studies where if they're getting, say, AAA and mobile phone protection, free movies. T-Mobile even gives me, for instance, free MLB TV and free Netflix. So it's all
set up for that.
Yeah, go to T-Mobile. We'll get T-Mobile on next week. But the point is that there's been a number of studies that people want to pay for some type of bundle that's going to be of value to them, so they could pay one particular price rather than paying, or in my case, paying for MLB TV, Netflix, and T-Mobile. I know that I'm paying for that in one way, shape, or form by having my phone with T-Mobile, but I like just paying them and having all of these services. Yeah. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, the whole bundled approach is what really, in essence, drives up the value prop, right? Because the more value we can bring to that bundle, it makes that what we call account level fee so amazingly affordable, and in contrast to what it would cost them, an incredible value. And so the mobile phone one is a huge one, providing hundreds of dollars a year worth of repair and coverage on that a lot of people today are spending all kinds of money with their providers for. And the beauty of this particular program that we have in our program as part of our bundle, it can operate as both secondary or primary insurance, which is a lot of companies don't allow that whatsoever. They force you to use your primary before you can use this at all, and that's not what we do. And so it's a very easy, simple program, very easy to access its services and its benefits and to use them. They even have in-network providers you can go to. It's a small, I think, $50 deductible. You just pay the deductible, boom. They take care of it. They fix the phone. They take care of it. They work with the insurance company. That's it. There's no other paperwork involved. Just an amazing, simplistic. But again, this is the kind of thing millennials, they want simple, value, and I'll pay for it all day long. So all that being said, if millennials is in your wheelhouse, you need something of this nature incorporated into your checking account because they're looking for this stuff in terms of shopping around, in terms of the institution they want to be associated with. So all that being said, again, it all comes around also to that good feeling that credit unions have created in the thought of a lot of people today, that they go beyond the normal financial institution in terms of how they take care of their members. And when you think about a member-centric solution, this is something that literally allows them to go outside the walls of the credit union to protect their members. It's one thing to protect your own checking account, your own savings account with the credit union. But when somebody's telling you, hey, I'm protecting you for anything that could happen to you outside the walls of this credit union, doesn't matter what it is. It could be another card on another financial institution. It could be your passport. It could deal with your driver's license. It could be one of your kids getting in trouble, as I gave you the example earlier. And it's just that feel-good solution that I think every credit union should be putting forth. And it just makes sense with what's happening in the world today with the onslaught of this cyberdemic. It's a great thing for credit unions to continue to differentiate themselves.
Is cyberdemic an actual word, or did
Yeah.
you just make that up?
No, actually, you know,
all
made
the
that
time?
word up. That is
Because if you say you made it up, I'm
No.
going to give you a lot more credit than you do.
It's actually was created. You know, I'll give props to Experian. Experian
Yeah.
actually in their every year they do a prediction.
Mhm.
They call it their data breach protection. Their prediction, excuse me, data breach prediction. And when they do that every year, they talk about the top 5 things that you're going to be looking at in terms of how things are going to potentially get worse.
Right.
And unfortunately, you would think that with all the money that is spent on cyber, you know, software and hardware and malware, you know, all the protective firewalls, everything, all the money that is spent last year, there was again a 2,000%, not 2,000. There was a 10% increase in the amount of overall cybersecurity related software hardware implemented last year, and yet in 2020 there were more data breaches than in any of the previous 15 years. So I mean, it just keeps getting worse and worse, Ken. And that's a scenario that people need to face, is the fact that these breaches aren't going away. The identity theft as it relates to it is not going away. The criminals are getting smarter, faster, more efficient in terms of how they can attack you. The new 5G networks allows so much more access to you than it ever did before, in terms of just, you go anywhere, people can tap into your phone, tap into your devices from all kinds of places, from far distances. And so your technology is creating, unfortunately, again, this cyberdemic, which allows them to infiltrate your life and your world and to steal your information and to use it against you. And suffice it to say right now, it's, you know, no play on words, Russian roulette, totally, in terms of when you get hit. It's not a matter of if, and that's the old statement they said several years ago, more true now than ever. It's not a matter of if, but when it's going to happen to you. And that's why, you know, if I'm in a credit union right now listening to this, I'm saying, what can I do for my members to put them in the safest place they could be going forward? Is put in one of these programs, because it absolutely has no negative side effects to it whatsoever if we do it right. And that means education, education, education first, then you roll out the program. If you just try to surprise people, nobody likes surprises.
Yeah.
And that's the key to the success of our program that we've had year after year in the last couple of years. Educate, educate, educate. Because if you don't educate and you just surprise your members, then nobody likes surprises whatsoever. But when we do it in an educated, member awareness way, they're all on board with it, because they appreciate being treated like they're intelligent, that they can make a good decision here. And when somebody says to them, hey, I'm going to provide all these services to you and your account level fee is going to be $5, they're going to say, how can you do that?
Yeah.
Because if they do their homework, they're going to figure out, like I said before, it costs them $50, $60, $70 anywhere else they go. So why not do it with a credit union they trust? They trust you with their wealth. Why wouldn't they trust you with their identity? And that's, you know, kind of like the whole theme of our program. Yeah. Let them, you know, be more engaged beyond just their money in terms of what they do with you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know credit unions that, whether it's your service or another service, that are charging $14, $15, $16 a month because of the value that it offers. Before I get completely depressed over this cyberdemic and I shut down my phone and cancel every credit card and go live in the mountains someplace where nobody could find me, what, from your expertise, what are the top maybe 2 or 3 actions, other than obviously work with Vero, that credit unions can do to help to protect their members?
Well, a great question. And, you know, again, because I personally have this service for myself, I don't walk around in fear, because I know I can't stop it. If anybody's walking around thinking they can stop identity theft from happening to them, they can't. It's going to happen to you. It's just a matter of whether they target you or not. You hope that they don't. You can do a lot of things to create some kind of deterrent around yourself. And most of it is just really, it's common sense and education and just understanding a few simple do's and don'ts. You know, you don't give out your social security number to anybody, no matter who's calling you on the phone.
What's your social security number?
555. Yes. So, yours is too.
Yeah.
You're the same one I have. So anyway, bottom line is you education, and leading by example. You know, not just educating them, but taking steps like putting something in place within your checking account to show that you're taking steps to want to try to create walls of protection around your members. Our packages do come with monitoring. Monitoring by itself is not an answer. And I know that that's contrary to what most people have been hearing on TV for the last 10 years from all the advertising. Because you hear, monitor, whether it's credit monitoring or dark web monitoring, whatever it is. But no amount of monitoring by itself will guarantee it won't happen to you. Mm-hmm. So that's one caution I would throw out there to members. And it's another aspect of education that credit unions can give to their members, that don't rely on the TV advertisements alone to just enter into a monitoring situation. You need more than just monitoring. And that's where, again, fully managed recovery services comes into play. But that education is and obviously there's lots of tentacles to what kind of education and what you tell them about and what can they be looking for, but also starting it at a young age. Don't wait to think you have to educate people when they get older. No, the young kids are using this technology more than anybody. Mm-hmm. I would encourage credit unions and other educational institutions to start teaching kids at a really early age how to protect themselves and their identities. They have no concept of it as a young kid, that their identity is something that's unique to them. So unfortunately, that's why a lot of kids on Facebook. I mean, my gosh, I don't have Facebook. I don't subscribe to it. A lot of people do, and I can't, recommend them doing anything other than be very, very, very careful about what you put on Facebook.
Is that why you didn't accept my friend request?
Yes, it is.
Oh, damn it.
I'm sorry. I won't be there. Yeah. I don't do Instagram, and I don't know other things. It is. I mean, the idea is there's only so many ways in which you need to really be connected to people that you really know and really care about. And so that being said, your question about what can members do, what can they be looking for? Again, if I were a member out there, I'd be looking for ways. I'd be looking for credit unions, quite honestly, that want to protect me, or some institution that wants to protect me, because I'll know if I find one of those, they're probably using a program similar to mine. Mm-hmm. That's going to get them a greater value proposition than if I just go online and try to get it and cost myself $60 a month or $70 a month to protect myself and my family. So be wise with your money, and look for the greatest value out there, but find protection in one way, shape, or form, and just be educated and just be aware. Keep your ears open as to what's going on out there. It's in the news a lot in terms of what's going on with breaches, the different kind of scams that are happening. So kind of, be aware of those things in terms of what are going on, and just be careful with your identity, especially your social security number, email address, and phone number. Those things are essential, and those things, once they have that information on you, you're pretty much just, like I said, waiting for it to happen.
It's I use the analogy based upon what you just said on monitoring. If you go to your doctor and you're afraid of having cancer, if you have that unfortunately in your family history, and you're seeing a doctor and they say, we've been monitoring you and you have cancer, like, well, what are you going to do about it? Yeah. Well, I can't do surgery or chemo or anything. I just want to tell you got cancer. Right. It doesn't do me any good.
No, it doesn't. No, but a lot of preventative action, they could have told you ahead of time how to prevent, the cancer, maybe from, or postponing it, depending upon, what your heredity is. But at the end of the day, the whole difference between monitoring and fully managed recovery. And my analogy that I always give to people is monitoring is like a smoke detector. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's an alarm that goes off. And today there's different kinds of alarms you can have around your house, right? So I would equate the credit monitoring to the smoke detector in your house. Dark web monitoring might be all the alarms you have on all your windows and your doors in your house. Mm-hmm. And there may be other types of alarms you put in place. Those alarms do not guarantee a fire won't break out. Mm-hmm. It does not guarantee somebody's going to bust down your door and come in your house. Mm-hmm. Now, they can alert you that happening, but the bottom line is what you really want to have is a fire extinguisher. Yeah. Speaking specifically of fire, and that's how I kind of equate an identity theft event, is like a fire starting. And what happens is that the criminals will start circling around you. You'll see evidence of it, Ken. You'll see a suspicious email. You'll see you'll get a suspicious phone call. Mm-hmm. You'll think, gee, that's weird. That's not me. It doesn't seem like we're going. But people don't do anything about it. All right. And the thing is, that's like the smoke going off, right? And it just hasn't risen up to the smoke detectors yet. And then all of a sudden, the fire does break out, smoke gets more intense, they're attacking you, your alarms go off. Now what do you need? You better have a fire extinguisher. And that's what I equate fully managed recovery to. Fully managed recovery is that fire extinguisher that allows you to know that the fire's going to be put out. It's going to be handled for you. Matter of fact, it's like having the fire department showing up at your front door, putting it out for you. And that's what really this is about. So, and certainly I'm not telling people don't have alarms in your house. It's no, you want both. Make sure, because I always tell people, if your house is going to be on fire tomorrow and you know about it happening tomorrow, what do you want in your hands? Fire extinguisher, right? Because you want to be ready to put it out when it starts. Don't get me wrong. Smoke detectors are great. Matter of fact, the best of both worlds is to have both. That's what you really want. Have both those alarms going off. And then, anything else you can throw on there adds in a value prop. Mobile phone protection. We also now have a savings app where people get discounts. I mean, there's all kinds of things we can do to beef up the value of an account for a credit union. We even encourage credit unions, Ken, and some of them do this, to beef up that checking account even more by maybe adding extra overdraft protection or extra ATM usages, right? Beef up that value and differentiate it from something else you either have or somebody else has down the street. And so once you build up the value proposition, some credit unions even put on rewards cards. They turn into a full-blown rewards program, right? So make it what you want to make it, but in the end of the day, incorporate these services into the ownership of that account and make that account value as high as you can, so that you can obviously have a value proposition such that you can charge $5, $6. We have some credit unions out there today charging $8 and doing extremely well at $8 a month. And people go, wow, people willing to pay $8? Yes, they are. If they're willing to pay $12 to fit, actually Netflix is now $17. If you're willing to pay $17, I just got my notice 2 weeks ago. If you're willing to pay $17 just to be able to have access to movies that you like and to programs that you like, people get value, right? They're willing to pay for that, and people willing to pay how much to just have free shipping from Amazon, right? Amazon Prime. People are paying $15, $20 a month. They get Amazon Prime, and then you have all the markups in Amazon Prime, right? All the different things. So people get value, and that's why I'm saying, gosh, put on an account at like $5 or $6 or $7. People go, what? That's nothing compared to what you're talking about providing. So again, value. You touched on it already, and I think credit unions should jump all over it, and that would be the best thing they could do. In what's happening in the world today, there could be nothing better they could do for their members.
I think the Disney bundle of Disney, Hulu, and ESPN Plus is $19.99, and that's why I'm not buying it, because I don't want to spend $20 for TV. Right. But I am proud to say that I don't have just one, but 2 fire extinguishers in my kitchen. So Jim, thank you, man. I really appreciate all of the great information that you were able to provide today.
Thank you for listening to the Credit Union Business News Podcast. Learn more about credit union business news at creditunionbusiness.com. Suggestions for the Credit Union Business News Podcast can be directed to Tim O'Hara at tim@cubusiness.com or Ken Bader at kbader, BATOR, at btcinc.net. To learn more about this episode's sponsor, please go to btcinc.net.